I took my son, who was in a wheelchair, to compete in a triathlon. On race day, when the starting gun went off, all the athletes rushed toward the ocean. With the help of the staff, I pulled my son forward and swam with all my strength, but the long-distance swim and the freezing cold seawater quickly drained my energy. I did not dare to stop, and I could not stop. Soon, other athletes reached the shore one after another and got on their bikes for the next stage. The entire sea was left with only me and my son. I clenched my teeth and kept going, and at the very last moment within the time limit, I finally brought my son to shore. We received applause from everyone watching. I did not even stop to catch my breath. I quickly changed my son into dry clothes, placed him onto a special bike, and continued to the next part of the race. We had to ride as fast as possible to catch up with the athletes ahead because of the hot weather. To prevent my son from overheating, I had to ride while constantly checking his condition. At the same time, the gap between us and the other athletes kept getting smaller. I suddenly noticed the road was filled with our names, and people were cheering for us nonstop. Just before reaching the next finish point, I noticed something was wrong with my son's expression. I immediately stopped to check on him and realized his waist was injured. After crossing that checkpoint, I pushed him straight to the medical station. Seeing him endure the pain, I hesitated for the first time and decided to withdraw from the race. But my son shook his head and insisted on finishing. So once again, I pushed him forward and began the final 42-kilometer marathon. By then, the race had already lasted 14 hours. My legs felt completely numb. Every step felt like stepping on cotton. On the course, athletes kept collapsing from exhaustion, and I was barely holding on. As the finish line grew closer, athletes ahead of us reached the finish one by one. With only 20 minutes left before the race ended, my body had reached its limit. My mind began to fade. After stumbling a few steps, I collapsed heavily onto the ground. I saw my son, looking at me completely exhausted. He knew I had given everything I had, but he did not give up. He reached out with trembling hands and slowly pushed his wheelchair forward. That moment reignited my will. That was on the edge of breaking. I stood up and pushed him, using every last bit of strength, and sprinted toward the finish line. Before time ran out, we finally crossed the finish line. At that moment, the entire crowd erupted in thunderous applause. So as long as you do not give up, the finish line is always ahead. True victory is never about defeating others. It is about surpassing who you were yesterday.